Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Five Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, as always, Mr. Mark number 115. It's me, it's Martin, joined by my still abducted by Bray Wyatt Undertaker. Who the F knows? It changes every week with you.
Yeah, we don't know what's going on at this stage. Like, I'm Carmo, by the way. Welcome back to another episode. But we'll fix this at a later point. Don't worry about it.
I can't wait for our Where's Carmo series to come out.
Yeah,
You're just completely and you're gone.
Yeah, we're just going to replace it with pictures of Wally. It's fine.
And it could be the Eve to your Wally then.
yeah.
But we are continuing our road to Scrapper interviews, and this one is a very, very good one right now. Fresh off of his match with his best mate LJ at the Hard Knocks Unbroken event, we are joined by one. Do we call you like you're not a Muppet? We're the Muppets, isn't it?
We're all Muppets. We're all good mates. You know what I mean? So we can all be Muppets together. We go crack.
So we're joined by one. We'll say one Muppet. To me, the Muppet himself. It is Mr. Fabio.
What's the crack? Thanks for having me on. Oh, I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for coming on.
Like, thank you so much for coming on.
No problem at all. Pleasure.
Like we are what 8 interviews in, and now we have Fabio. You know,
that's a big one. Like,
the names just keep getting bigger and bigger for us, and more like, oh my god, like we're absolutely blessed. But I guess we'll start it off the way we started off every other thing. Every other person. We're all wrestling fans at heart. Not many of people know, where we started as wrestling fans. Do you have any idea what your first wrestling memory is, and how you got into being a fan?
So like for me, again, like it is a cliche answer, and I'm sure you get it a lot from when you ask so many wrestlers this question. But I was a fan for as long as I can remember. Now I don't think this is my first memory, but it's definitely my earliest, like as far as I can remember back to. And it's such a strange one. It was Booker T and Boogeyman from WrestleMania 22 or 23, I want to say.
22.
Yeah, 22. Yeah. Like, and I definitely think I was a fan before that, but that's just as far back as I can remember watching like live in person.
Oh my god, that's probably the most unique one we've had. Like, we've had Attitude Era, SmackDown 04. I was never expecting someone going like, oh yeah, Boogeyman, Booker T.
Yeah, like it's a strange one. I know, like, and like I don't know. I think that's probably why it has stuck with me so much, because it is like in hindsight, that's like just such a random match to pick. But yeah, I remember being terrified of the Boogeyman for years.
I think our mic is hitting off something. It's a lot of
I don't know who is it.
Static.
Right, is all good now?
It's all good now. Just it was all static. I was like, oh my god.
I thought it was me there, to be honest. I was like, what?
I thought it was you as well. I was like, oh my god, it's finally gone. That's it.
Thanks for having us. I'll see you later.
But no, yeah, Booker T and Boogeyman from WrestleMania 22 as well. Like, for this like comedy stuff that you do now, what a great first one, because obviously to me, like, that's Boogeyman was the big comedy in the WWE for a long time.
Yeah, like actually, I never thought about it like that, but I think you actually hit the nail on the head. Obviously, again, for me in hindsight, like I would like see the Boogeyman as like a comedic character, but when I was younger, I did not. I was terrified of him. I was so scared. But yeah, I definitely grew out of it now. Definitely not scared anymore. Definitely not.
Until he comes to OTT. Just saying, Joe. Okay.
Yeah.
I was the exact same. I can't believe I remember this. When me and my family were in like a Smith's toy shop or something in Galway, and my dad was like, "Oh yeah, you can buy one figure," but he had to pick it. There was a Boogeyman figure, very top shelf, and he lifted me up, so I picked it up. I started crying. I was like, if I bring this home, the Boogeyman's gonna get me. That's how terrified I was back then.
Like some sort of voodoo connection to the toy that whoever purchases it.
It'd be my fucking heart around his neck at SmackDown. But then obviously, so that's your first. Like, how did you find Irish wrestling? Obviously with OTT and stuff like that.
So I remember just like kind of seeing stuff online about OTT. Like I think the first thing I saw of OTT was a WrestleCon show, and I think Abyss and X-Pac were on it. And I was like, oh, sick. Like, this would be so good to go. I can't believe this is in Dublin. Then I realized it was over 18s, and I was only like 13 or 14 at the time. But I actually started training in Fight Factory, and I knew about it for a while, but obviously because I was really young, it was all the way out in Bray. Like I never took the leap. I was just waiting to be old enough, like. And then they moved up to Dublin. One of my friends actually shared it to me on Facebook, and I was like, oh, I have to go to that now. I think like I first heard of Fight Factory and probably like a WWE 24 documentary or something like that that mentioned Finn Balor's school that he started. So I probably would have been like my mid-teens when I found out that there was actually wrestling in Ireland.
That's crazy, because that's exactly what I found about OTT was the Finn Balor documentary with him returning unannounced.
Yeah.
Never knew OTT was a thing until that documentary.
Yeah, it's mad, yeah. And I think that like a lot of people are kind of like that as well. Like even friends who I have from school or like other areas of life, like who would have been wrestling fans when we were kids and kind of like will keep in touch with it. And they see what I'm doing now and they're like, are all these shows in Ireland? And I'm like, yeah, like most of the shows that I do are in Ireland. Like you should definitely come to one of them. And yeah, I think it's just like still relatively untapped. In terms of like the wrestling audience don't actually know.
100%. Like, yeah, absolutely. What made you kind of get the decision that you actually wanted to get into wrestling then?
It's always been like a want or a goal for me, to be honest with you. Like ever since I was a kid, like I always wanted to be a wrestler. And then as some of my friends kind of like stopped watching or grew out of it, like I just remained persistent. I was like, no, I am going to be a wrestler. So it wasn't ever really like a right time to take that big leap. It was just like I knew I wanted to do it, and I was just waiting until I was old enough.
Yeah,
it's always that waiting game with people. Always that waiting game.
Yeah, 100%. And it's like, oh, it felt like the longest time waiting forever, but now I'm here, and it's all after flying by, most of it.
Yeah.
And so, when did you like start training, and what school was it with?
I started training in 2017 and I was in Fight Factory. It was when they just moved up to Dublin. I remember they had like a beginners open day for their new school in July of that year. But I was actually still on holidays, and I was like, the second I got home, I'm going to be like signing up or like getting more information. And I ended up going in August of that year. So I started around the same time as like Martin, Justin Daniels, JB, like we all kind of started around the same month or months.
That's like actually that like we talk about one class keeps brought up is with us is the Keane Noonans, the Nathan, their class, but that's a standout class, that one.
Yeah, and honestly, like I think it's probably only gonna get better. Like when you say like that's a standout class, like we obviously I'm happy that like I have this bit of experience now, whereas like the sport's ever evolving. So the lads that have only started like a year prior to now, they're going to be learning a hell of a lot quicker than how quickly we were learning, if that makes sense.
No,
because there's more people in Ireland traveling now. Like LJ was a coach when I started, and like even still now, him being one of my mates, like I'm still learning from him because he's constantly traveling, and that's just one person who's traveling all over Europe. And now there's loads of us, so we're all able to kind of learn from each other, if that makes sense. It's just going to keep speeding up the process, and it's going to keep evolving, which is great to see.
Just to touch on your training as well, how did you actually find your first couple of weeks in training? Like we are, like a lot of people obviously talk about the first bump as well, and how it'll either make you or break you. How did you find all that?
Honestly, like I remember just being very excited about the whole process. I think because I was so dead set that I was going to be a wrestler, and like I was so eager to do it, that I never really like. I obviously found it tough, but I was never like, oh, like I never had any thoughts of quitting or anything. You know what I mean? Like when I took the first bump, I was like, oh, that's sore. class. Let's learn how to do it properly now. Do you know what I mean? I remember the
takes
biggest surprise. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say it takes the first bump, right, and right to do suicide dives.
Yeah, straight away. Yeah. No, that definitely took a couple of months to me to build the courage for that one. I remember the biggest surprise that I realized was actually painful was hitting the ropes. I didn't expect
Yeah.
them to be like, obviously, like I'm used to it now, but like the initial time hitting the ropes, I was like, I didn't expect them to be like it wasn't real sore or anything, but like you see people bounce off them. I expected them to be like soft, you know what I mean? Like, but I remember that being the biggest surprise for me. Um, but yeah, like I obviously it was tough at the start. Like and as you progress, like there's a lot of levels to it and stuff. But I've always just been really excited about learning. So if something was difficult, I was just like, all right, how can I get better at this? Then I never had a thought of like
There's no doubts.
stopping. Yeah, there was never really any doubts.
That's one thing we've had a lot of people go on. It's like, yeah, the bump hurt. But once I hit those ropes, you start getting the bruises to the side. Everyone's like, oh, that was the cherry on top,
Yeah.
But like, talk about like learning from like, because you mentioned there, it was some later, but like learning from like LJ, who obviously is such a big name in Irish wrestling now, and all the experience that he can bring to you guys and stuff like that, and then go and bring you guys along must be absolutely amazing.
It is great. Like obviously when I started, like I would have looked up to him as a coach, but now like that he's a really good friend of mine as well. Like I just feel like I'm constantly learning from him. Feel like himself, Phil Boyd, and Katie Harvey were the three people when I started that really like push me and elevate me. And I have a lot to owe to the three of them. Like Phil is an amazing coach as well. Like almost everybody in Fight Factory like owes him something majorly. Like, and LJ will tell you that himself. But yeah, I'm really grateful that like even though I've gotten like a bit more experience and stuff, I still constantly feel like I'm always learning. Because obviously you end up kind of getting trapped in your own bubble if you don't feel like that. And when I'm surrounded by so many great wrestlers in the country, like I can constantly feel like I'm learning, which is like something that I'm really grateful about.
Absolutely, yeah. I suppose you were kind of led up into your first match. Do you remember your first match and about the feelings kind of, I suppose, hearing about your first match?
I do remember that. Yeah, I remember my first ever match was a Fight Factory show, and it was me against Justin Daniels and another person who's a really good friend of mine as well. And we were actually the first ever Project Next Gen match that was on a Fight Factory show, and now we have actual full-on Next Gen shows, which is class to see. But I remember getting told about it by Justin. He had been at a Thursday training, and I wasn't there because I was doing like, I think I was in 5th year or something, and I was like really studying for school. What a waste of time, by the way. But I remember he called me, and like I was nearly gonna go to sleep, and he was like, "Oh my God, I have great news." And I was like, what is it? And he was like, at episode 5, it's me and you in a singles. And I was like, shut the fuck up. Like I was like, full on thought he was messing. Like honestly thought he was taking the piss. So I was just like, all right, shut up. And I hung up on him. And it was only until Saturday training when Katie said it to me. I was like, oh shit, I don't think she'd lie to me. But I was still skeptical. I was like, did Justin say something to her? I was like, because me and Justin had only been training like 8 or 9 months at this point. And I was like, all right, okay, I'm not sure. Actually, I left out a part of the story as well. Just after I hung up on Justin, LJ texted me. He was like, I'm sure you've heard the news. Congratulations, really happy for you. And I was like, I don't know.
Like, someone's ribbing me here.
Full on thought someone was taking the piss. And I don't know why, like I got so skeptical. But I obviously found out that the match was happening and was over the moon. And it's kind of like only really in hindsight that I'm a lot more happy with it, because we were trusted at such a young age. Like we were 14 and 15 for our first match, and we had only been training 8-9 months, and they trusted us to go out and have a singles match, the opener of a episode show. So like it does really mean a lot to me. Now me and Justin can't watch the match back. Like I remember, like he was here before, and we tried to watch it back, and we were just cringing at like how we looked and what we were doing. But like it will always like I'm so happy that that got to be my first match with a really good friend of mine, and that we are trusted to put on such a match.
No, we have a lot of people saying that as well, like, oh, I can't watch my first match, or oh, it went so bad. But the thing is, you don't learn unless it goes bad. So then, like,
Yeah,
obviously, where you are now, you can look back and go, God, wish I enjoyed that just a bit more.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I remember at the time, like, being over the moon. Like, I actually, it didn't go bad per se. It's just obviously because as we've progressed as wrestlers, like, we've obviously learned a lot more, and we'll look back on it and be like, oh, why didn't I do this? Because you're always your own worst critic. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I even if there is a match that like I absolutely loved, I'm not gonna watch it like 100 times, because then I am gonna hate it. I'm gonna be able to pick holes in it, which is definitely healthy when you're watching back your own matches. Like you should be able to be like, right, uh, maybe I should have done that there. I'd switch that next time, something like that. But you don't want to watch it to the point where you hate it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So then when we watch something from so long ago, like it still holds up as a match, and a lot of people like tell us that it was really good, and we know that ourselves, but we just can't watch it back. Just purely because we were 14 and 15 as well. So
Mr. Cameron, what's the next question?
I was going to say, what kind of time frame was that match? Now, what kind of a time frame we're heading into at this stage then?
so it was 2018. It was the summer of 2018. Just at the start of the summer, I think it was like June, and it was Fight Factory episode 5, which is mad because I think we're on 25
Yeah, I think it's
now.
25 now. Yeah, the next one's
Yeah,
coming
I
up.
think
It's like
yeah,
25 or 26. Yeah, it's mad.
which is mad. So yeah, actually, yeah, that was ages ago. That's mad.
The
No worry, you've got COVID in
realization.
between. There wasn't a lot of shows that COVID. You're okay.
Let's actually
Yeah,
talk
that's
about.
true.
Let's actually talk about the obviously COVID happened and there was a massive pause in wrestling in Ireland. You know, we spoke about Terry Thatcher and you know how just the unknown was in Irish wrestling. Like, is this going to open back up? Is that going to open back up? What was that like for you? Obviously, because at that time you weren't new, but you were still kind of, you know, you're still kind of green in wrestling.
Yeah. Like in hindsight, I was so new. Like I know you said like that I wasn't.
Yeah.
I really, really was. Like, um, again, it's probably just like how much like we've all progressed, but it's when I look back that I've just realized how new I was before COVID. Like before COVID, I hadn't wrestled outside of Fight Factory. And my first match back after COVID was my OTT debut, and it ended up just like snowball effect there. But COVID was. I remember at the time thinking like, "Oh, this is the worst thing ever." I always knew it was gonna come back, but it was just like a matter of when, like you said, the unknown.
Mm.
So, um, but now again, when I look back on it, I was like, I'm actually kind of glad it happened then for me and not now, where I'm wrestling a lot more often and
Yeah.
like things are kind of picking up. Um, the only thing that I still kind of hold a gripe against is the fact that I had literally just won the Irish Junior Heavyweight Championship, and I defended it once, I think, and then COVID hit, and I was like, oh, like I really had myself set on a year. I was like, yeah, new decade, new generation. Yeah, we'll like keep pushing this, and then I got stopped. But yeah, I'm sure like there was definitely people who had it way worse. Like I said, if it was to happen to me now, I'd be way more annoyed.
Oh, especially now because I feel like Irish wrestling right now is booming, absolutely booming. Like I until August, I wasn't watching anything. Like August, School of Irish Wrestling, my first Irish wrestling show. It just had homecoming, and the amount of people that were in front of us are going, "God, this is great. Why didn't I know about this before?" And I'm just there smiling, like, "Yep, I was in that position. You don't know. We just don't know what we have."
Yeah,
So
100%. Yeah, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, that it's relatively untouched. I think majorly untouched, I should say. Um, so yeah, like I'm happy that it happened when it did, and not now. Some people may disagree, but from my position, I was happy that something like that was to happen then. Irish wrestling's definitely booming right now. There's so many promotions in such a small country. Like I'm wrestling like every weekend pretty much, and a lot of those shows are in Ireland, which is class. Like when I started out, that definitely wouldn't have been the case. And I remember LJ even saying to me, like when he started, like most definitely wouldn't have been the case. Like he would have had, I think he told me like maybe 2-3 shows a year that like would have got offered to him when he started. So it's class to see how often I get to wrestle, and as well the new people get to wrestle.
100%. But you can even see that with the likes of yourself and LJ and even a couple of other people, like even breaking into kind of the European markets now, where you're fighting in like Belgium, Germany, and all these different kind of places. Like, how has that been, just being able to travel over and kind of fighting these huge places, even the UK for that?
Yeah, it's great. Like I remember the first booking outside of Ireland I had was TNT in Liverpool, which like it's a really good promotion, which I also got through LJ. He did me a absolute solid there as well. I remember like even though it was not like to England, I was like, oh, like this is a hot spot for wrestling. Like this is a foot in the door. And like I'm probably gonna say it loads, but it just seems to like snowball effect a lot of it, because then I ended up wrestling in Milan, in Italy. I went over to Austria. I was in France. I'm going to Spain twice in the space of 2 weeks, like this weekend, and I think like 2 weekends after that. So like, and it's just class, like to say that you're getting flown out to these places to wrestle. Like it is kind of mad. I remember me, Martin, and LJ it was at the last OTT Wolverhampton show, and we were trying to find a takeaway that was open. And we were like, it's mad that we're walking the streets of Wolverhampton for wrestling. Like that is mad, isn't it? And we were like, yeah, that is mad. What the fuck? Like, but even like just different places in Europe, like places I probably wouldn't have thought to go to if it wasn't for wrestling. Like the place in France where I was Marseille, and the way the flights worked out was I could only get flown in on the Thursday and fly home on the Sunday. And I was only wrestling and doing a seminar on the Saturday and Sunday. So I had like 2 days.
I'll just cut you off just because your microphone's going. I'll buzz you again.
Oh, again? No way. Again? Oh, I don't know. You're good. Is it all good now, is it?
Yeah,
it's all good now. It's
literally
good. Every time it gets moved, it just goes, yeah, I'm good now. I'm fine.
Okay, if it happens again, I'm going to have to sort that out.
You're good. You're good.
I'm trying to remember where the story has started, where it was.
We're in Marseille, I believe, the story.
Yeah, so I got flown out to Marseille, and the way the flights worked was I could only fly in on the Thursday and home on the Sunday. And I wasn't wrestling until the Saturday and Sunday that I was wrestling and doing a seminar both days. So I had Thursday and Friday to just do whatever I wanted in Marseille. It was class. Like I was just wandering around Marseille on my own, and I was like, this is deadly. Like I'm after getting like essentially a free holiday here.
That's like a holiday, yeah.
Yeah, like so it's really cool, and you meet a lot of really cool people and stuff like Rising Sun, the place that booked me in Milan, Italy. Like that is
it's gone up buzzing again.
Right. I'm just gonna can you hear me now?
Yeah, you can hear you.
Right, I'm just gonna leave it like this because that headset's annoying me. Wrecking me. I'm just saying that the promotion Rising Sun in Italy that has booked myself, LJ, Renzo, and Justin, like that's like you meet so many cool people as you're traveling around as well. And it's really good over there. Like that would be one of my favorite places abroad. I'm happy that I get to go over there so regularly as well. Yeah, it's just traveling for wrestling is deadly.
Yeah.
And speaking of traveling for wrestling, obviously the biggest one now, hopefully, fingers crossed, would be Fabio over WrestleMania weekend.
Yeah, it's definitely a goal to have some stuff lined up for LA. Maybe I do. Who knows? But I am going to be over in LA Mania week. So I think I'm there from March 29th till April 4th. So if there's anyone that wants to book me as well, definitely do.
Can't wait to see him
Savage,
in the
yeah.
Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
Yeah, I might sit in the crowd in my gear and slide in and see what happens.
No one will
And
notice. It'll be fine. Like,
is he one of ours? Yeah, okay, go on.
just sticking on, I suppose, wrestling all over the UK and obviously potential of wrestling in America. Is there some place that you would love to wrestle? Is there a country that you haven't wrestled in that you would love to have to go to?
I haven't wrestled in Germany actually. I'd love to wrestle there. Because I'm only realizing recently that there's actually quite a lot of promotions over there. So to wrestle over there would be really cool as well. Because I was only in Germany, just like non-wrestling related in December, and it was really nice. So I definitely love to go back for wrestling as well. Where else? I remember Spain being a big one, and now I get to tick off that goal this weekend for White Wolf, and then again for Resist. But obviously then like the likes of America and Japan are big ones as well. Yeah, there's a lot of places that I would like to go, but I'd probably be here for ages naming them all off.
No, I'll change the question as well. I'm sure there's so many people that you'd love to face in different promotions. If there was one top of the list opponent, if I could face them in the next, we'll say 3-4 years, who would that type of person be?
That's a good question, and it seems to like be ever changing for me as well. But the ones that have stayed consistent for me that like would be dream matches that I could potentially see happening in the next like 2-3 years would probably be Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay. Like they're the two ones that like I always end up going back to, that I would love to wrestle those.
Yeah, two people that keep kind of coming over here, between here and the UK a lot as well. Like, so it's definitely potential. Like,
yeah, 100%. And hopefully they would be huge goals checked off the bucket list. They really would.
We're due our Will Ospreay return in OTT soon, so you never know.
Hopefully, yeah. Me and Martin against the United Empire. Me, Martin, the United Empire.
I'd pay to see it anyway.
Please. Do you know what? If you just give me J Money versus United Empire, I think I'd just laugh. Like,
I think I would as
Homecoming, after home, like just you and Martin sitting there in the crowd watching it, and just watch J Money in the ring.
I would probably feel bad for him because he'd definitely get back. But
he'll be grand. It's just Osprey, TJ, you know, and Aussie Open. It'd be grand. But speaking of you and Martin as well, obviously, not relatively new tag team, but you are a new tag team in OTT, and things are going up for you and Martin right now. Homecoming was a big task for the two of you. Win 3 matches, get your shot. What was that weekend like? Obviously, you talked about walking around Wolverhampton, but actually being at the shows and Dublin and Belfast.
So like the OTT shows are always like really good atmosphere, and you know, especially that we got to be a part of the Wolverhampton show again, like, which is great. Because the venue and the atmosphere over there is just as good. Like, it's great. Obviously, you can't beat the Irish home crowd, obviously,
No.
but it's a great atmosphere over there. Obviously, we knew we had a really big challenge, and we really want to get onto Scrappermania, so we knew we had to win. And thankfully, we managed to pull it out of the bag. Our match with Subculture, like, we are so grateful that we got to wrestle those again. Because Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster are unbelievable. They are so good. So to get to share the ring with them again was unreal. And I personally think that the match we just had was better than our last as well. So, and we are 1-1 now. So I think around 3.
The rubber match.
I think so. It has to be the rubber match.
Please bring it here. I am dying to see Subculture in Dublin.
Well, who knows? Hopefully your wish will be granted.
Please.
And even though it was a DQ win over the draw, we are still happy with that. In the record books, we have a win of the OTT Tag Team Champions. So, obviously, we're in the fast lane to Scrappermania now, just to see what happens now.
It's just the road to Scrappermania left. Obviously, your match will be announced, I'd say, in the coming weeks. And if you get that one done, that's it. You and Martin off to Scrapper to face the draw. What would that be like for you and Martin?
Obviously be our biggest match as a tag team, 100%. You know, like in the National Stadium, competing for the OTT Tag Team Championships. Like that's, you know, obviously every tag team in the country wants to be OTT Tag Champs. You know, I think every tag team should want to be, because it's the biggest prize for tag teams in the country, I believe. So obviously from the start, that's what we should have been working towards, and hopefully our wish will get granted. And if we can make it to Scrappermania, hopefully we can become tag team champions.
Oh, absolutely. I pray to God certainly that it will happen. But look, since we're talking about tag teams, since we're talking about the National Stadium, I have to go back to the 8-year anniversary. Whereas obviously yourself and Martin going up against Gangrel and Angel Cruz in the hardcore match. Can you go through that with us? What was the feelings throughout that match?
It was like just such excitement. Like, not only did we get to be in a stipulation match, like, which for every wrestler is like, it's on the bucket list, but we got to wrestle Gangrel, and we are so excited. Like, I remember even just like all the different stuff that we knew we were going to do, we weren't fazed by any of it, because we were like, we get to be in a hardcore tag team match against Gangrel, and it was our stadium debut as well, so obviously we have the excitement of that as well. I was so happy that, again, another goal checked off the bucket list, wrestling in front of 2,000 Irish wrestling fans. That's what everyone wants. It's like to walk out and see that crowd of people. That weekend as a whole was amazing, and definitely like solidified me and Martin as a solid team, because it was the day before the National Stadium. For the first ever Wolverhampton show, we wrestled Subculture, and we started getting along there. You know, I know I was a bit bad out to him at the start.
Everyone thought there was gonna be some sort of, you know, twist or turn of that match, but no, you guys start to finish.
We started getting along, yeah, and then obviously we wrestled Gangrel, and the day after we wrestled Matt Cardona and Jay. And even though we didn't pick up the win, we knew there and then that, like, right, we can be really good as a tag team when we're on the same page. So that weekend was what I think really started off me and Martin, kind of like started the fire of me and Martin as a team.
100%. I just want to ask you two questions based on actually those two matches, the one with Gangrel and the one with Matt Cardona. The one against Gangrel, thumbtacks don't look fun. How did that feel?
Exactly as you'd expect. Like, it was, obviously, I did not get the worst of it though. Martin did. If you watch back the video, like, because even before that, he had some stuck into his head. Like, you'll kind of have to like look for it, but as like we go to the middle rope, you can kind of see like a shine off the back of Martin's head, and it's thumbtacks from when he got the pumpkin put on his head. Like it feels exactly how you expect. But you know what? There was one annoying part about it. Like, when we got thrown onto them, obviously, thumbtacks were sore, completely expected, but I was too distracted because I bit my tongue on the way down. That was so sore, and I was so annoyed at myself.
And I suppose, heading on to my second question, obviously you've been watching wrestling for majority of your life, and you've seen people like Zack Ryder, now known as Matt Cardona. What's it like when you're just standing in the ring and you're looking across from it, and there's a guy that you've watched basically growing up? Like,
it is insane. It is, like, I don't really think like there's a way to describe it. I think when you're in the moment, obviously in the ring, you're pumped up with adrenaline, and like, you know, you're obviously like thinking a lot and stuff. It's only really like afterwards where it properly sits in. You're like, we just wrestled Zack Ryder. That's mad. Like, that's mental. I think I don't know if this is for everyone now, but it's mainly afterwards that I proper start to think about, I'm like, oh my God, like, this is mad. I just wrestled Gangrel, Zack Ryder, Subculture, all in 3 days. Like, what? That's mad. Like, I remember watching all these people on telly, insane. Like, so kind of in the match or in the ring, obviously you're excited, but I properly understand that afterwards.
I'm gonna kind of stick with the tag team here, but like, what's it like teaming with Martin? Obviously, the two of you work off each other so damn well. The comedy, the laughs, everything that comes from the two of you. Like, obviously, everyone thought maybe there might be a split at the 8 year. There wasn't, and things have just gone brilliant for the two of you ever since. Like, what's it just being like? It's just the two of you. Just like, where do you come up with all the stuff you come up with? Like, Jesus.
Like, yeah, like I don't know. Like, we don't really have like a planning process for like a lot of us, like a lot of our like comedic stuff. I think it's just because we're very similar in a lot of ways, and it obviously helps that we're really good mates outside the ring too. I think we honestly just struck gold with each other in the sense that like we're very much on the same wavelength about wrestling and like what we find funny. So like, chances are, like, if Martin says something and he thinks it's funny, chances are I do as well, and vice versa. So yeah, like even things like Muppet Jocks and Muppet Tops, like, I actually don't know how Muppet Jocks became a thing. I think we were like just slagging each other, and then he called me Muppet Jocks, and we thought it was the funniest thing ever. And we were like, right, we're gonna get jocks made like that, because we thought it was funny. No other deeper meaning other than we thought it was funny.
The thing is, people bought them. People,
I know,
people,
yeah.
people
I know.
don't walk around with Muppet Jocks.
I know, yeah. Like, I think that was the biggest surprise. We were like, will these sell? We were like, are we kind of chancing our arm here? But they did, and you just loved them, and we're delighted you do, because we loved them as well. So yeah, I think it's we just need our another funny thing now that we'll stumble across, and yeah, hopefully make merch on it.
You could do Muppet socks. If you ever do shorts, I'll buy shorts.
Oh, now shorts is a new one, because we have thought of Muppet socks. That has been one that's been in the works, so maybe.
Yeah, even Muppet headbands or something like that. You'll get loads of things out of it. Like,
The possibilities are endless. They're endless. Maybe for the next for the Scrappermania weekend, we might have something brilliant in store.
It's just
We'll wait
Muppets.
and
Like,
see.
it's just Muppets.
That's it. Yeah, that's just it. No deeper meaning other than it's funny.
But I think we'd be killed if we didn't mention. We spoke about it earlier on. Obviously, you won the Irish Junior Heavyweight Championship going into COVID, and at the time you said, "Oh, it could have been a better time." But really, would you count the length of time between winning COVID and all that type of stuff, or would you, from when you won, take out the COVID days and only have the resting days?
It's
Because
it's 1,132 days.
you
No matter what
held
way I look at
that
it.
belt. You held that belt for such a long time.
I did, and I do count the COVID days, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because I 100% made up for lost time.
Yeah.
I did. I defended it and showcased it everywhere I went, like almost everywhere I went. I showcased it when I wrestled for the Ring of Honor World Title against Jonathan Gresham. I brought it to TNT in Liverpool, Rising Sun in Italy. I defended it in loads of promotions in Ireland. And when I make the claim that I'm the greatest Irish Junior Heavyweight Champion of all time, I do really mean it, because I don't think there's been a champion that has broke down barriers the way I have and showcased it the way I have. So I do count every single one of those days, because I really believe I made up for lost time. Like, as soon as COVID stopped, I started trying to showcase that as much as I could.
And obviously then this led, you've defended the title for, what was it, Cam, 1,000?
1,132 days?
Something like that.
Give or take. But obviously
Like
that leads to the big match then with Leighton. It's champion versus champion, which obviously was supposed to take place, I think, in December, but due to travel issues, it just obviously didn't happen. But then a couple of weeks ago, the match finally happens. What was it like going into that to finally get that match going?
Oh, it was like I was excited for it beforehand, but I think because we had the delay in the match, like I was really eager then again. Like Leighton Buzzard is so sick, and I'm so happy to see how well he's doing for himself, like throughout Europe as well. I think he's doing a Canadian tour. So like if I had to drop the belt to someone, I'm happy it was him because he is class. In terms of the match though, I was just really, really excited for it. He was someone I wanted to wrestle for the second I found out about him. And I'm happy that someone like him is over in Ireland so much. This has become his second home. He said that he's over here, whether it be OTT, Fight Factory, or CW. So yeah, he's really good, and the better man won that night. So hats off. I can't be too sour.
Are you going to go for a rematch? Going to try and get that belt back?
Maybe. It's definitely on the cards, and it's definitely what I'm wanting. But we're just gonna have to see what happens.
And I'm more than happy to see what happens. Like, it was an absolutely amazing match to watch.
Thank you.
Obviously, again, like I think the excitement of the match kind of just overbuilt itself. Because we all wanted it in December. It didn't happen for 5 delays, but then when it happened, I think it just exceeded what people wanted to see. So the two of you, hats off for that one.
Thanks very much. Yeah, I was really happy with it. Delighted it went so well.
But one match that I am definitely going to talk about, and you already mentioned it there, was the Ring of Honor World Title match, Jonathan Gresham. You can, like, the fact you could say, "Oh yeah, I fought for the Ring of Honor World Title."
Yeah, it was crazy. I remember that when I found out, like, I was ecstatic because it was the first, like, definitely the first big international star that I got to wrestle, and the fact that it was the Ring of Honor World Champion, Jonathan Gresham, someone who, like, as a wrestler, I've watched so much of, like, to learn from, because I think, like, his style is so unique and everything he does is just unreal. Like, I've watched so many of his matches, and then I got to wrestle him in a pure rules match. I was like ecstatic is the only way to describe it. I was so excited.
So you could, like, I'm thinking here, because obviously with Jonathan Gresham with COVID and stuff, he had to defend the ROH belt with no ROH and stuff like that, and he defended everywhere and retained everywhere. You can nearly pretty much compare your junior heavyweight title reign and his with two people just bringing the belt anywhere they could, defending it anywhere they could to put their company's name on the map.
Yeah, like that is a really good compliment to take. So thanks very much for that. And I never thought of it like that, but I suppose, yeah. And if you always hear the saying that the champion makes the championship, not the other way around. I feel like every champion should aspire to be like that. So yeah, I definitely think Jonathan Gresham is a really good example of that. And that's someone who you should want to kind of look up to, especially if you're into that style of wrestling. But as a champion as well, when you look at him and for how much he did for the Ring of Honor World Title, that it's definitely a good compliment to be compared to that. So cheers.
No problem at all. Hey, Joe, again, another thing to book. Bring him back, and let's have that in the the OTT ring in Dublin again, because I'd like to see it.
Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? I know Gresham loves coming over here, so you could get to see Jonathan Gresham in an Irish ring soon.
Or even again, I can't. I'm bullying him so much tonight, but I can't put it in the ring with Jay Money. That'd be hilarious.
He's gonna be delighted with all these matches he's getting.
Yeah.
It's like I'm always bullying him. I just see Jay Money just stand across, go, oh shit. Mr. Carmen, what's the question?
Yeah, I was just going to go into there. So as we kind of talked about just before we even started recording here, obviously Hard Knocks was on just a couple of weeks ago as of recording, whatever else, where you obviously fought your good mate LJ.
Yeah.
How was that match?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Obviously, I love wrestling LJ anyway, because like we've trained together for about 5 years at this point, and we've wrestled each other on shows in like countless different scenarios. So being it down in Hard Knocks as well was just great. Hard Knocks is a really good atmosphere, and Steve and Leon have something really good getting built up down there, which is great to see. It's just great to see everywhere doing so well. But yeah, that match was a lot of fun. But G Train is getting in my way, and I'm gonna have to put a stop to him sooner or later because he's wrecking my head. He's constantly in my way. I don't know what gripe he has with me, but I'm gonna have to box him around sooner or later.
Something there, all right. Keep getting involved.
I've got a question. I thought you two were mates. Like, I thought you weren't fighting.
Yeah, but then he started telling lies and saying mean things first. So then, yeah, I had to hit him.
I think the best part of the whole, like, obviously the whole match was just a great way to kick off the show, but just the clapping. Oh, I don't think there was a person that wasn't laughing. The fact is, oh, Foxy, look at this. Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what I mean. He started telling lies first. He started that. So
I don't know. The people at Hard Knocks are saying it was you.
All right. Well, hold on. I want to talk to these people because I didn't start it. He did.
All I know is Foxy finished it.
Foxy didn't finish it. Yeah. That's actually.
I know we talked about it, like, obviously before we hit record, but like getting Foxy involved, like when he hit that double clothesline, the place erupted for Foxy. Yeah. Oh, like just telling Foxy, hey, look, we want to do this. Will you do it? What was Foxy like?
Oh, Foxy loves being involved. He does, because he loves the wrestling just as much as the wrestlers. He does, and you can tell it that he loves the wrestling, because if he didn't, he wouldn't be reffing nearly as many shows as he does, because he's, like, obviously the most credible ref we have in the country. So, you know, like, he loves getting involved. I've never had to ask him, does he mind getting involved? Because I know he does. He loves the wrestling just as much as us, which is great. And Foxy's always a pleasure to work with.
But now that golden ticket's gone, so obviously no Hard Knocks world title shot for Fabio, unless somehow you find yourself back to the spot. But maybe, obviously, the Hard Knocks tag division is starting. Maybe Martin Steers and Fabio. We already saw you guys obviously make your entrances together at Hard Knocks.
Yeah, you know, it's definitely on the cards. Definitely is just another promotion for us to debut in. Yeah, obviously everyone saw that Martin essentially saved G-Train, because I was going to hit him the hardest dig I've ever hit someone in my life. So a lot of people think that Martin saved me. He actually saved G-Train, so I was going to kill him. So, you know, maybe we could take the Hard Knocks tag division by storm. And maybe if there's tag belts down the line, maybe we could be going for them too.
Become the inaugural. Like, not much more you can say after that when you can say, I'm an inaugural tag champ.
Yeah, true. Very true.
All future plans. But I thought that the two of you ran.
No, I didn't.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's completely untrue. Lies.
I saw that. Yeah. No, you stood your ground. I saw it.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that. It's true as well.
Mr. Cameron, do you want to throw another question?
Kind of the last question that I normally ask, but obviously you've had a stellar 2022. You've traveled all over. You've wrestled in everywhere, really. Have you any major plans, any major goals for 2023?
There's definitely a lot of goals. Wrestling in America being a big one, which I will be ticking off very soon. I want to break out to a lot more UK promotions. The likes of Progress, RevPro, ICW, like they're big ones that I want to break out into. And honestly, just kind of like keep going to more countries, more promotions, just seeing how this snowball effect goes. I'm gonna keep working to be in as many places as I am, and kind of maintaining the goal of wrestling nearly every weekend. So like a lot of the time it's 3 days a week. So they're pretty much the big goals, and maybe add some more goals to my collection. Maybe.
I like it. Yeah.
I like that. I had a question in my head there, and it's after going out the window. But look, obviously, no, those are big names. We even like, everyone talks about, LJ Cleary is gonna, it's gonna happen next. I would say 1 year he's gonna get snatched up. Honest to God, like we could be saying the same thing in the next 2 years less for people like yourself and Martin, because if you haven't signed the Freshnas, I don't know what the hell you're doing, because these two are just putting on banger after banger after banger and just absolute comedy. Like it in no time. Honest to God, wouldn't be surprised with NXT Europe starting up soon. If you guys don't get snatched, they're just being silly.
Well, look, obviously, something huge like that is definitely a big goal for everyone in wrestling, whether it be WWE or another huge promotion elsewhere in the world. I'm thankful that like I do get to be in the conversation like amongst Irish fans that like they think that myself, LJ, Martin are going to be in the group of people that get snatched up. So hopefully, one day we live up to that expectation, and that's definitely the plan.
Yeah, I'm glad to see it.
I honestly, it will happen, but it's like even like I meant to ask this earlier on as well. This is how badly you see my head's over the place after work and everything. But like the comedy wrestling and everything, like because you do it so well in a mix of like you can be funny, you can be serious, and the vignettes that you and Martin shoot. Obviously, you said it's just, but like, is that something you absolutely love to do? Because you don't have much of it in Ireland. Obviously, it's coming in big now, but you could like yourself, Martin, LJ, just do it perfectly. Is it just that fun thing to do?
Yeah, it is like, and a lot of it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about like Muppet jocks and stuff. It's normally just like if we find it funny, but I definitely think the fact that we're able to differ between like comedy and serious and stuff shows our versatility, which I think is probably one of my biggest assets as a wrestler. That I do feel that you could throw me anywhere on the card in any different situation, and I'll be able to like bring a good product. And I can say the same for LJ and Martin as well. I think the three of us are very alike in that sense that we're all very versatile, which I'm happy I've kind of developed over training and just doing different shows. Like, obviously it's more attractive to a promoter in whether it be Spain, Italy, France, wherever. Like if like I can say I can do anything anywhere on the card. So whatever sort of match you want, like, I can deliver that. Like in Italy, I'm a heel. When I was in Austria, like I had a big mega multi-man match, which was crazy. And obviously even here in Ireland, like, I was doing a lot of comedy stuff in OTT with the Fridges stuff, and another lie as well that fans like to tell. But then the week after, I was having a main event match in Fight Factory, defending my Irish Junior Heavyweight title. So, like when you're versatile in that sense, you get the best of both worlds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It had to be a lie as well, because I mean, it's just like they've stopped doing it, so it's clearly a lie.
Exactly. Prove my point. See, I'm really happy they're not lying about that anymore, because that was really bothering me, because it was untrue, not because it was true, obviously.
But Fabio, thank you for coming on. Is there any, let's say, social media, any shows, anything you want to plug? Where can people see Fabio?
Shows. What shows do I have coming up in Ireland? We have Fight Factory on March 10th. I will be there, definitely. And obviously we have the Road to Scrappermania in the Complex in Dublin and live in Derry, if that's closer to you. Should just go to both anyway, you might as well. And then obviously we have a big Scrappermania weekend from March 17th to 19th, I believe. It's that weekend.
Yeah.
So they're the shows, and obviously my social medias. Just look up Fresh Fabio, and I'll be somewhere there, I think.
And you can see all the vignettes I've been talking about as well. They're absolute gold.
Genius.
Thanks, man.
Fabio, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
No, like honest to God, and Carmo, you know I love to get into the outro. We have this brilliant outro that poor Carmo has to do for every interview we do.
Okay, right. I'm excited now.
Well, before I do that, Fabio, thank you so much for coming on. It's an absolute pleasure just to have to sit down and get a chat with you even for just a small while. Can't wait to see what you do in the future. Can't wait to see you at a show and just even have a chat, whatever. And I'm looking forward to Scrappermania. But for the moment, we have been the 5 Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast. Thank you for joining us for another week. But for this week, we are officially ding, done.
And that's the silly outro.
Yeah.
Bloody brilliant. That's brilliant, that is.